Saturday morning from WagerTalk. This is Last Call. I'm Kelly Stewart, and today we have a trio of sharp bettors, sharp guys behind the counter or the laptop, if you will. We're going to start off with Art DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook, Gianni the Greek coming in second, and Adam Trigger taking all of your college football questions. We're going to go as close to kickoff as we can. I'd like to actually be out of here by 11:45. That way can get in all those bets that I write down so quickly last minute that we get a little bit of those insights. What does the book need? What do the local books need? What are the sharp guys actually playing on? What are they buying back on? And so forth. So this is purely based on your participation. If you guys are asking questions, we're going to keep going. Once those questions stop coming in from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc., I'm getting the hell out of here. So don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you jump in the comment section with all your questions, comments, or concerns. Let's bring in Art DiCesare at ArtDice21 on X. He joins us every single Saturday to give us a look behind the counter there at the Westgate Superbook. Big bets, big needs. Talk to me about this college football slate, Art. It's not as pretty as it was over the last couple of weeks, but there's still a couple top 25 matchups that I find to be very intriguing.
There are, and obviously you got the big game early on. And, you know, an early game, like a 9 a.m. Vegas kickoff for Penn State, Ohio State, you know, it hurts to handle a little bit because, you know, it's not a night game. Obviously you want all the kind of shelf life of having that all day, but we'll still get a ton of bets on it, and it'll still be a really nice handle game for us. I mean, it's such a big game, Kelly, we do props on it. We don't do a ton of college football games where we offer player props, and we are doing that on this game.
Oh, very nice. Are player props minus 109 by chance?
No, player props the splits are a little bit wider because, you know, the prop market there's not a lot of kids betting the prop market, as I like to say. You know, it's definitely more of a sharp market, especially college. NFL, way different. Obviously, most people, whether you're a casual bettor or a sharp bettor, can get into the NFL props, but college is so limited that it's really only the guys who are kind of in the know that bet those.
The reason why I ask is because right now college football sides, as we know, totals are also very sharp, but the sides are minus 109 all college football season long there at the Westgate Superbook. Are you guys planning on taking that through bowl season?
Yeah, it's definitely something we've talked about. I think it's something we will do. Obviously, the bowl season's a little bit different because there's so much craziness that goes on with the portal and everything. But it is something that I believe that we will do. I have not heard any talk about us scaling that back as far as that goes. And once we get to like major bowls and playoff games, we might even tighten them a little bit, you know, further. I mean, look at our baseball World Series splits. We had a 5-cent line. So, you know, when major events come up and major things happen, we like to tighten those splits a little bit and, you know, give the bettors a little bit more value.
I love that. Minus 105. Speaking my language, Jay Smooth says we're getting right into it. You mentioned the biggest game on the board today starts at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So you've only got about 55 minutes to get your wagers in there on the Superbook app. Ohio State or Penn State. Let's hear what you guys have as far as behind the counter there at the Westgate.
Well, right now, Ohio State's one of our needs. We took Penn State money all week, +4, +3.5. We're sitting at 3. A lot of over money. That was as low as 45. It got to as high as 48.5. Now we've seen the buyback on the under. So, you know, we really don't want to get middled on that total because we're basically sitting with a 3-4 point middle on the total. But right now, we're big Buckeye fans because we really haven't seen the Ohio State money come in, even at 3. Obviously, we'll never get to 2.5 because that's just something you can't do. But I was surprised by how much Penn State money has come in. And it was sharp money early, but it's really been a lot of public stuff too, Kelly. A lot of public people on Penn State.
A couple of things I want to follow up with there. Can you explain to our audience why you can't go to 2.5? I think that it's kind of a misnomer that the book is always looking for that 50-50, take their juice and leave, when that's really not exactly the case.
No, it's not. You know, when a game like this really, the number really probably is 3, and that's probably the right number. And if the game closes that way, that's what it should be. Now, us opening Ohio State 4.5, we did that because we just felt Drew Aller, we didn't know about his situation. And then obviously as he felt more and more like, okay, he's going to play, he'll be fine, the number obviously started to drop. But yeah, the second you drop to 2.5, you will get plenty of Ohio State money. And yeah, maybe everyone says, well, you're going to balance it out, but you don't want to balance it out at 2.5 and 4.5, because then you can really get middled at 3. So it's almost sometimes on a game, you want to just say, hey, this is our position and you have to let it ride because, like you said, you can't tweak every game to get 50-50.
Very good insight there from Art DiCesare at ArtDice21. If you guys have not seen him, he is on WagerTalk to a day with Teddy and the Prez every single week, giving you guys a look behind the counter earlier in the week, and he's here every single Saturday taking your questions. Justin McAllister on YouTube wants to know, any read on Army Air Force? Spread in total dropped 3 points in the last hour. This is not a game that I really had much opinion on. I will say the Army football helmets look awesome.
So to answer that question, the game in total clearly has dropped because the Army quarterback is out. So early in the week, Air Force, you were getting a lot of Air Force money at plus 23.5, plus 23, and a total at 41.5 was getting bet under anyway because they bet the service academies under. Now with the Army quarterback out, we got to as low as Army minus 18, total of 38.5. Despite all that, all the early Air Force money in the week, we're going to need Army in the game. We're going to need Army to go out there and win by 3+ touchdowns, because with Army's quarterback being out, even if you get to the lowest point on the market, 17.5, nobody wants to come back and nibble. And especially because it's an early game, you're not going to have enough shelf life for that game to be bought back. So we're going to need Army in the game.
Let's go through a couple of those noon slates. And then also, Ryan Bretcher wants to know your biggest need for today.
Yeah, I would say right now our biggest need would be, let's say, Army, let's say Oregon, and let's say USC. Those are probably our top 3 needs. A couple of the other early spots, I know you and John had talked about this on your show, but there's a lot of sharp money on Auburn. They laid Auburn minus 6.5 against Vandy. That's now 7.5. Miami took sharp money at minus 20 versus Duke. That's now 21. This is a really good sharp play. Purdue, who was a dog early in the week, they were catching 1 point against Northwestern. They're now a 2.5-point favorite. Northwestern has a myriad of injuries, ton of injuries. So a lot of Purdue sharp money and a lot of Memphis sharp money. Minus 6.5, minus 7, all the way up to 8 against UTS. Went back down to 7.5. So we'll need UTS in that game.
UTSA, the Roadrunners, one of my favorite underdog spots there over the last couple of years. All right, Art, let's move on to the later slate. Obviously, bets start to come in by recreational bettors. House players that are staying at the casino over the weekend come in and place large wagers, sometimes up until kickoff. So things are subject to change, but kind of give me these 3:30 slate. Anything on K-State Houston, of course, because I have to ask with the giant football field behind me. And maybe the Cats can bounce back. John Murray did not text me, but apparently you guys took a lot of Kansas money after you and I got done doing the show on Saturday. And he said, kid, I didn't want to burst your bubble. I didn't want to tell you. And I said, why? I could have taken some Kansas plus 10, and maybe I wouldn't have been so angry on Saturday.
Yeah, when we look at that 12:30, 3:30 slate, Florida's been taking money all week, plus 16.5, plus 16, plus 15.5, now down to 14.5. That's obviously, I'm still going to call it the world's largest outdoor cocktail party because that's what it is. They're playing Georgia. Michigan State, plus 8 against Indiana. It feels like Indiana gets bet against every week, and every week they go out there and win and cover. So Sparty took some money. People are waiting for them to fall off a cliff. Indiana, Arizona State took a lot of money, minus 2.5, all the way up to 4.5 against Oklahoma State. Old Dominion was really sharp early in the week, minus 2, minus 3.5. We'll need App State in that game. And your game, Kelly, they took Houston plus 13.
Gosh, that's just so weird. I did do the show this morning, and they asked me, I said, K-State's usually a really good bounce back spot, but Willie Fritz, 2022, did go into Manhattan, and when he was with Tulane and beat Kansas State. Now Houston is kind of surprising people. They beat TCU as a big underdog, and of course Utah. K-State's going to roll today. Is there more money on USC or Washington? Art, I have on my list. You said you guys would need USC. Is that due to a significant amount of Washington money coming in?
Yeah, it's interesting. So that game really early in the week, if we would have talked on Monday or Tuesday, I would have said, you know what, it's the opposite. But we've taken because we took a lot of early USC money, which, had us needing Washington early in the week. But once USC basically got pushed from 2.5 to 3, there was a ton of Washington money that came in, really good 5-figure bets that came in on Washington +3. So as we sit, we're going to need USC in the game.
Very, very interesting there. Let's see if we got some questions over here on Instagram or TikTok. Carlos Ocampo wants to know, let's hear about the OSU Penn State player props. Love the OSU receivers. Will OSU throw the ball or run the ball more? That is a great question because they have not been able to run the ball at all due to some of the injuries there on the offensive line, which is ultimately why I did not bet Ohio State with some of my friends that played it early in the week. Art, let's run through some of these player props because that is always interesting. I think that is going to be the new wave of prop markets, is being able to bet on some of these bigger marquee college games. I think it's going to make it a lot more fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. And just one on both sides. Drew Aller actually has taken the most money. That's the prop we've seen the most money on with his passing yards. We opened 191.5. We're all the way up to 199.5. So there was a couple of guys who hit that at different numbers, thinking, he's healthy, they're going to throw the ball. So basically having him go 200 plus yards. And then the receiver for Ohio State, Smith, Gino's cousin, that awesome freshman, took over money at 74.5. I believe we're all the way up to 77.5 now on his receiving yards. So kind of one from each school that have seen the most action and got hit a lot. But too, Kelly, you're right. It is going to be a market that's going to start. I think it's going to be something that gets created a lot more. But, a lot of people don't look for it because they don't think we have it or, it's just one of those things. But I think with these marquee games, we're going to start trying to do more and more of the college props because people love props.
Hey, last weekend, that was all I bet on the K-State game minus that friend bet that I had. I had a tight end to score a touchdown, and then I also had a defensive or special teams touchdown, and it was so close. All right, Corey Roberts, game that I gave out, 13.5. Corey Roberts was no Iowa State spread has come down after steaming up early in the week. Is that weather-related or more that Tech's starting quarterback will be playing?
I think it's a combination of both, but you're right. Iowa State did take a lot of sharp money early in the week. And for us, just on the other side, we didn't necessarily take Tech money at the high point. We just moved with the market. Our early initial bets on the game were sharp on Iowa State. The buyback for us never really came on Texas Tech. We just moved.
All right, we'll see if Texas Tech is getting any money when we talk to VR here in a few minutes. Expat Mark's Soul Palace. What a name. What is the biggest public bet of the day?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, let's just look at it from a standpoint of, we don't talk enough about money line parlays. And I think Georgia and Oregon, even though they're needs for us as far as spreads because we took a lot of action on the other side, actually a lot of times if one of those big ones can lose outright, we're going to knock a lot of the big money line parlays out of there. And you're talking 8, 10, 12 teamers. And a lot of times, Kelly, too, maybe they're like half college and they roll into the NFL. So you can kind of get those out of the way. So when you have those big names, 2 touchdown favorites in that range of college football, they are going to key all money line parlays.
Noted. All right. Arkansas or Ole Miss. I am on Arkansas today. MJM0863 on YouTube wants to talk about this game. Look, pure statistical eye test play. Arkansas has played a really tough schedule this year. Ole Miss kind of been on this roller coaster ride. And frankly, Sam Pittman has Lane Kiffin's number. It's just what it is, at least as far as against the spread goes. Also, I found this one really interesting. Prior to playing Georgia, Ole Miss 0-4-1 against the spread. So maybe they get caught looking ahead here and the Hogs can win one for me in Fayetteville. Is Arkansas a square dog? I'm starting to have my concerns, Art.
I know that's part of your money line the 3 leg, right?
Yes.
Arkansas.
Yes, you can
Yeah,
bet that right
I look
now at the Westgate Superbook under specials. Kelly in Vegas. Just got to click the link, and you guys can tell me. John Murray boosted to 35-1. Shameless plug.
yeah, yeah. You know what, Kelly? I look at this though. First of all, it's hard to win on the road in the SEC. Ole Miss, I still don't love them or trust them. Now, we took early money on Ole Miss at 6.5. And when we got to 7 and 7.5, there was some buyback on Arkansas. This has actually seen really good split action. I'm with you. I think I would lean with the Hogs too. You're getting a touchdown, maybe even more at home. And it's hard to trust Lane Kiffin. I'm not a Lane Kiffin guy.
See, I'm a big Lane Kiffin guy, but I still don't trust him in here in this spot. I love Lane. I love his dog juice too. Hank, and with the last question, Art, what is your favorite play today?
Oh, interesting. So I did on WagerTalk on Wednesday. We talked a lot about, I liked Eastern Michigan, but that number is completely ballooned. Now you're getting a better number. I'm not in love with it. I actually like Baylor. I like Baylor at home. All the 2.5s are gone. It's 3, but I like them at home against TCU. Maybe even go money line -150, -155. But if you're looking for a side, I like Baylor -3.
I like Baylor as well. We'll see if I get to the window. Thanks to Art. Every single Saturday, he's up there bright and early at the Westgate Superbook, dealing -109, and then takes time out of his busy schedule to come hang out with us. So make sure you guys hit that like button. Drop some questions in the chat for Adam, who's going to be batting cleanup, but VR is coming in red hot to kind of clarify on some of that gold from the college football edition of Bet On It on Wednesday. And maybe VR can give us some other insight from a look behind the laptop on some of the local shops to see if maybe there was some buyback. Who was betting on Texas Tech in that game, VR? Because as Art said earlier in the week, they took sharp money on Iowa State. I said, okay, enough. This is too many points. I like the Red Raiders here in Ames. Whether they can actually win the game or not, it's going to be up to their defense. But I was appalled by this number. I get it. Iowa State off to their best start since 1938, but this one's gotten out of control.
Here's what I'm seeing from the books that I'm dealing with, the local shops, the bookmakers, they're getting Texas Tech money. It's almost one-sided at plus. I'm seeing people buying the half point, trying to take it to 14. I don't understand that. But yeah, a lot of Texas Tech, more Texas Tech than Iowa State. Even Texas Tech teasers, again, don't understand that. But taking it up to 20, I guess, makes you feel better. Yeah, so for me, again, it's not a favorite or pass situation because I didn't have a strong opinion on the game myself. But a little bit surprising to see this money coming in on Texas Tech. So yeah, for me, it's a stay away. It just when you see one-sided public money on the dog, yeah, a little scary for me, a little scary. But at least the market's respecting a little bit.
That is never anything I really want to see. Let's be real. I do like Tech in that situation. I like Joey McGuire as an underdog. We'll see what Matt Campbell's got up his sleeve today in Ames. VR MJM0863 wants to know anything on the Vanderbilt game. There's a game we haven't really talked about all week long. I've really enjoyed this Vanderbilt team, but are they getting just a little bit too much love at this point in time?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, not the group that I move for. I move for 3 college football guys right now, but I trade plays with other guys that move for different groups. Make a long story short, one of the strongest bets for the one group is Auburn, actually. Again, if they find a 7, they're blasting it. Earlier, it was moving around to 7.5. But whenever it dropped to 7, they wanted it. And a couple of the local shops, I've been able to get them more money down on Auburn -7. They also bet the under 10 in the first quarter. They bet it at +110. They bet it at +105. They bet it at even money. And that's where they backed off. That's why you're looking at the under 10 in the first quarter now favor. So I agree with that. I actually like Auburn a lot. It's one of those I wish we could tease in college football because that fits perfectly under Wong teaser. But, it's probably just going to stay with the point spread there. So I agree with the move. I like the Auburn side myself.
VR, let's talk about that really quick before we get into Minnesota, Illinois. Why is teasing college football not plus EV, right? I feel like I have a ton of guy friends that I really respect, and it's like the degenerate side of them loves teasing college football, and I it's hard for me to if they win, right? Because on occasion they do. It's hard for me to say, you guys, long term, there's too much parity top to bottom in college football. This isn't the NFL. And obviously, NFL is a stronger market, so there's more value. But can you kind of break it down as to why teasing college football, you're not going to win long term?
No, it's just not going to help you. The variance in scoring is the difference maker. Like in the NFL, it's a very efficient market. And even as efficient as it is, we still know that the average NFL game finishes about 10 points off of the spread. Again, we always say, wow, how did Vegas do it when it's -3 and it lands on a field goal? But on average, they're 10 points off. So that's why the teaser rarely helps you in the NFL unless you tease through key numbers. In college, it's even worse. Meaning that the average points that they're off compared to the point spread is a lot greater, and the variance is a lot greater. The scoring is a lot higher. So whenever you're also expecting more scoring, the points you're getting are worth a lot less. Kind of like, why would you tease in the NBA? They're expected to score 225 points. Are 4 points really going to help you? You really need those 4 points. Is that going to be the difference maker that you're willing to lay that extra juice for? So it makes you feel a little more comfortable because you're getting a better spread than what the market appears to be. But when you factor in the VIG, and then you factor in that you also have to tie in another team, you're just never getting the best of it. The win percentage that you have to hit to make it profitable just isn't going to be there. Plus, with the VIG involved, they're just not profitable bets, Kel. It's like the roulette wheel. Sure, someone right now, as I'm speaking with you, just hit a number on roulette, and they're so happy, and God bless them. I hope they could use that money because they just got paid 35 to 1. So if they put $10, they just won $350. They're thinking, what a great bet I placed. But you couldn't place a worse bet because you just back up and you look, and you're going to see 38 plus numbers on a roulette wheel. So unless you're getting 38 to 1 or better, you're not getting the best of it. You're only giving you 35 to 1. So you already know it's a negative EV bet. You just happen to be the product of good luck. You got lucky. And that's the same thing with college football teasers. Sure, they're going to cash on occasion. In fact, they're going to cash a lot. One team covers, one team doesn't. But you're paying way too much, and you're hoping to be the product of good luck, not the result of placing good bets.
Thank you for that, VR. We should clip that and post that somewhere because it is very true. T Loading wants to know, any thoughts on Minnesota, Illinois? I laid 2.5 with Minnesota earlier in the week. I love this defense. I love PJ Fleck. Illinois kind of got humbled last weekend, and I think that continues again here on Saturday. Plus, I love laying points against ranked opponents, especially at home when they should be, it looks like a pick'em situation. So for them to go all the way out to Minnesota -3, I think indicates that a lot of sharp money came in on Minnesota.
Could not agree more with you, Kelly. In fact, this is one of the guy that I share plays with. That's one of their bets. They bet Minnesota on the money line. They even laid the 1 on Minnesota. So it's not one of those manipulation bets where they're looking to get plus money on both sides, kind of like when you can move the line from -1.5 to -1.5 the other way. You get plus 105 on both sides either way, so you're getting free money. That's not the case here. Minnesota's definitely a legit move, and they're one of those teams that's just not sexy. They've been outperforming the betting market, covering 6 of 7, 7 of 8, depending on when of the games push. But nobody's really cashing tickets with them. And here they are on the road again, undervalued, came out as the underdog, and wise guys stomped on them again. I agree with you. I still don't think the number's high enough. Obviously, I would rather have gotten in early than late, but I do think it's a Minnesota pass. You saw what Oregon did to Illinois. I don't think they bounce back quickly from that loss.
We've got about 5 minutes left with VR. So if you guys have a question for him or just want to tell him how great he is, drop that in your respective comment section. We're checking Instagram. We're checking TikTok, X. So if you have a question on anything not named YouTube, we will take that as well. David Havley wants to know, what is the Greek god like? Ohio State or Penn State?
Here's the problem. I have a bias. I need Ohio State to win this game because I have a future bet on Ohio State. So when that's the case, I kind of sit myself on the sideline. And that's why I don't like those future bets that I remember. You know what I mean? Because it's like you shouldn't let it affect your week-to-week stuff. With all that said, I can confirm with you that the Penn State side is the sharp side, meaning that's why you're seeing Ohio State only as a 3-point road favorite instead of a 4-point road favorite, because they did take up the 4s. They did take up the 3.5s on Penn State. Since then, it's been two-way action. The books that I have access to, regular bookmakers, that probably 99% of their action, if not more of it, is all recreational bettors. It's split. It's split right down the middle. What sticks out to me most is that the sharps came in on the under and the public's on the under as well. That's usually not a good sign because we know that the bias from recreational bettors is favored and over. So when they're going against their bias, you got to pay attention. And this is one of those cases where they're going against their bias and even taking a worse number because the betting syndicates got out ahead of them and took the better total going under. So with that, I'm always cautious when I see that. And you see it's creeped back up to 48. Like it went down to 45 and the public's betting it under, and yet it's trickled back up. That to me is the most telling sign. Again, this game could stay under. I mean, they could be a 3-0 final and I could look like an idiot, but just reading the market, nothing else, no handicapping involved. This has over written all over it. It's got such early manipulation when the money line, when the limits are low, where you could just drop this down because remember, low scoring games below 50, those points matter. They all matter in college football. And being able to get over 45 instead of going over 47 is a big deal. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I like the over a lot. Just looking at it now, I thank you for asking that question because I would have probably even overlooked that. Yeah, that just, it's red sirens flying everywhere, man. Sirens flying everywhere. I won't be surprised if that goes over by halftime, Kel.
Wow. Okay. I'll keep an eye on that one. Rich, we're going to get to your question here in just a second, but VR, I want you to give yourself a little self-promotion. You've got the Steam Room going on, and you also join us every single Saturday and Sunday here on Last Call to give us that insight, that gold that we all love. And then Rich wants to know, what is your favorite barking dog of the day?
All right. Real quickly, I got a 5% in UFC today. 13-2 this year on those. Number one in profit overall in MMA. Really good information I get when it comes to UFC. Numbers don't lie. Also got a 5% going in NFL tomorrow. I didn't have one last week. I'm very selective with those. That's why we've hit 5 of 7 in the NFL. And, of course, got a lot of college football today that I've unloaded on. So it's a good time to come on over. Steam Room will be there tomorrow. We will go over each and every NFL game. More importantly, I'll jump on Last Call and try to share those teaser bets that have been undefeated the last 4 weeks. 15-0 the last 4 weeks if you tease the Wong 2.0 that we do. And 27-6, I think, now since the beginning. So we'll go over those real quickly. My dog of the day, live dog, go Wisconsin to get the win on the road. Ooh. On the money line. Sprinkle against Iowa. I like Wisconsin. All
right. Wisconsin. Very interesting. Marco gave out Iowa in a weird sandwich spot on Bet on it this week. So I kind of like that you guys are a little head to head. That makes it fun as always. Real quickly, I got to tell you guys, $5. That's what you can get the gold sheet newsletter for right now using coupon code GOLD5. That's going to save you guys $24. It's normally $29. Right now, you can get the gold sheet football newsletter for just $5 using coupon code GOLD5. I thought the gold segment here on Last Call was an appropriate time to let you guys know about that. VR, we got about 90 seconds. How about you just rattle off what left you have on your list?
Yeah. I'm just going to go off as the gold. Here's the other sheet that the guy gave me, their group. They went 321 Virginia Tech -3, 323 under 62 Louisville Clemson, 327 under 55.5 Arizona Central Florida, Auburn -7, 336 Marshall -10, 347 Minnesota moneyline, Minnesota -1, 1.5. And then Michigan State and Indiana over 51.5, over 52. We also bet the Michigan State Indiana over in the first half. I gave that out to my subscribers at 26. A couple more I'll rattle off for you real quickly. Ole Miss, Arkansas, first half over. Appalachian State under 28.5 team total. Army under 31.5 team total for the game. Under 17.5 first half team total. So a lot of under on the Army team total. First half and game. Pay attention to that. Akron, first quarter, +0.5. They're willing to lay all the way up to -175 to get a half a point in the first quarter on Auburn. I gave you the Wisconsin side. Memphis, UTSA over 60.5, 61. And Washington against USC. Publish on Washington as well. That scares me. And the over in that Washington game. So those I've been able to stamp as legit moves. Follow, fade, or ignore. I hope you cash them, don't trash them. I'll be back tomorrow with some Last Call damage.
I love it. At Greek_Gambler on X, on Instagram, and of course on TikTok. VR is always over there on those social platforms giving out gold. We'll get some UFC for him as well later on in the week. You guys can always check him out on Bet On It, college football and NFL edition. All right, guys, you've got about 19 minutes. We're going to have Adam Trigger 19 minutes, which sounds like my version of absolute hell. Adam Trigger, thank you for coming on this morning. You've been crushing college football the last few weekends, so you get to sit in the coveted last call seat. Let's get right through this. You guys, we have a buzzer ready. Adam gets 60 seconds per question. Virginia Tech versus Syracuse. You got the zip up on.
Yeah, this is a play for me, Kel. I'm on Syracuse today, +4. I did a long video on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. So rather than go long on this one, which I very easily could, I'll point you to that video. Couple things I will say. This has historically been a tough trip for Virginia Tech. They have Clemson next week. Two in the running back is a little bit banged up. And I'm not convinced that Kyron Jones comes out and just throws the ball all over Syracuse here. I think there was a big-time overreaction in the number. I made this closer to pick. Kelly, I think this may be open like very early in the week, Virginia Tech -1, bet all the way up to -4. Disagree with that. I think it should be closer to where it opened. So I see value on Syracuse +4. I think a lot of that line move was based off of Syracuse's disastrous performance last week. But credit to Pitt. They really confused Kyle McCord, and he then ended up with no confidence the rest of the game, as you would expect after throwing multiple pick sixes. I think Syracuse bounced back. The Dome's going to be close to sold out. It's homecoming. It's just a tough spot for Virginia Tech, in my opinion. And then, of course, having Clemson next week does them no favors. But the long version of that is up on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Syracuse +4.
All right, guys, head over there, check that out. Search Adam Trigger, and I'm sure it will come up. Kyle McCord, 3 pick sixes. Is that a record? I should have Googled that. I'm so glad. I was this close to betting Syracuse, and I got caught up with work. And boy, am I glad I didn't. What's up with SMU favored by a touchdown over Pitt? Trig, you just mentioned that same game where the Pitt offense basically did nothing. The Pitt defense scored 21 points. Maybe they're not as good as advertised. Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're not as good as advertised as much as it's just, I think they might finally meet their match here, Kelly. So Pitt has played 2 road games this year. One was at Cincinnati that they probably should have lost. That game was a 14-point game going into the fourth quarter. Pitt stole it right at the end, 15 unanswered points to close the game. Their other road game was North Carolina, a game that North Carolina could have won. But, of course, we know what North Carolina is at this point. So, you know, they've looked a little bit vulnerable on the road. Credit to Pitt, though. Eli Holstein's been really good. I did not think Pitt's defense was very good. I do think Pitt's defense ends up getting exposed here. But as I just said, they had a great game plan, confused the heck out of Kyle McCord. And the reason that worked so well is Syracuse does struggle to run the ball. They don't have much of a running game. Offensive line has had a little bit of, an issue of late, and McCord likes to throw the ball in the tight spaces, and it burned them. SMU's not going to do that. Far more balanced attack, and that's where I think the Mustangs have the advantage here. I know one of their receivers is out for this game. I believe that was reported either last night or in the morning. I don't think that makes a huge difference here because I still think SMU is going to be able to execute their game plan. So just to go back to the question, I think the number is right. I make it around a touchdown, and I just feel like this is where Pitt maybe takes one on the chin. I don't think this team can continue to go through the year unscathed. I'll be really surprised if they leave Texas with a win tonight, and I'd actually be pretty surprised if they covered as well.
All right, guys, if you have a question for Adam Trigger, you guys can drop it in your perspective chat. Richard Lockhart, good morning. I got North Carolina -2.5. What do y'all think?
So this one's not on my card yet. I'd be lying if I said that, Florida State wasn't maybe the late ad for me today.
I knew that was coming.
Listen, it is, like I said, I haven't played it yet, so still time for me to come to my senses, Kel, but for no reason other than they're going to get one they're going to get one at some point. North Carolina comes off of a huge win over Virginia, but this has been a team that's been an equal disaster to Florida State. I think prior to the Duke game, I made a comment. Teddy comes on show with actual quotes. I just quote myself from like 2 weeks ago. But I made a comment that Florida State would probably have the same record as Duke if they played Duke's schedule. And that was up to that point. Of course, Florida State ended up losing that game and has, obviously was never going to win last week. But still, like, they're not. This team's not going 1-11, and North Carolina has just as many issues. So I make Florida State the favorite. I got Florida State favored by 2 points here. So it feels like I'm getting value plus 2.5. But I guess you have to wonder, is this where they start playing the young players, getting other guys experience? Is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. I lean toward Florida State plus 2.5. I have not bet it yet.
Yeah, I will not be betting it. I would also probably not be laying it with North Carolina in this spot. Here's a game, actually, that we should talk about, Trig, because I wanted to back South Carolina here. But as VR said, sometimes our futures bets keep us off of a play. So I have A&M under 8.5 wins. And I wanted to bet South Carolina here. And I've been kind of right and kind of wrong on South Carolina. I'm 2-1 betting with them this season. But I said, you know what? I just need A&M to lose this game for my regular season win total. Why on earth would I double down? Am I crazy? Am I leaving money off the table? Should I be betting the Gamecocks?
I mean, the side is really tough. I made a comment on the football show yesterday. Did the WagerTalk football show that I felt like these two teams are able to take away what the other likes to do offensively. Specifically, Texas A&M. I don't think they're going to let South Carolina run the ball here, and so that led me to the under. I'm kind of with you, Kelly. The side is very tough. Texas A&M feels like they're in the spot that they had LSU in last week, right? Like big primetime game. They come from behind. They get the win. Now they're kind of the team that's like vulnerable favorite on the road. Big primetime game for South Carolina. Do they get nipped in that same spot? I don't know. I don't totally disagree with that, but I think the best play of any of the either four sides or total options here is the under. Just feels like a game that I think is played a little bit tighter. And, again, I do think that both defenses can take away what the other team wants to do offensively. It leads me to the under, but Kelly, mid-40s on a total is never easy. So I guess you're going to have to stomach under 44. Not easy to do, but I do think I had this one like 21-17, 20-17, something like that. So I like the under.
Well, hopefully South Carolina gets the W for me. How about Oregon, Michigan real quick? Andrew Wojcik wants to know. This is interesting. I had a couple of people ask where my Chuckle play was. Chuckle and I did a thing where we did 9 weeks of double-digit underdogs, and it worked out because starting now is about when those double-digit dogs just start getting blown out. Yeah, of course, we're going to have some upset wins, but here's an Oregon team that I think really started out kind of flat, if you will, and now is starting to surge. We just saw them beat the bricks off Illinois. But are they getting a little too overvalued here against a really solid Michigan defense? 14.5 seems downright disrespectful.
Kelly, if Michigan could throw the ball at all, I would love them to in this spot against the spread at this number, catching 14.5 or 15, because I truly believe Oregon will make Michigan throw it here. And I don't know that they have any success doing that. I think Michigan's defense is good enough to take the run away or at least limit the run for Oregon. That could present a little bit of an issue. But I just come back to this Michigan offense. Oregon, again, I think they can make Michigan throw it, and that's a problem. I don't trust them to do that. So it would be Michigan or pass. But again, I'm not super confident in Michigan's ability to put up points, which is why I'm going to pass.
I would have to, unfortunately, agree. I just don't think that they're it. Brandy Sullivan wants to know thoughts on taking Arkansas +8. Where is Arkansas +8? I do not have the WagerTalk odds screen open. That's really interesting. I usually don't like when things go against me. I was happy to see Arkansas had hit 7 yesterday, then got a little bit of buyback. It is 8, Joe? Is that what Joe's telling me behind the wings? Hard Rock went to 8. Okay. All right. I love that. Not That's where I bet, and they should respect my couple dimes there on Arkansas. No, I like the Hogs here, and that's just based on history. I do think they've been dealt a really tough schedule. Trig, Ole Miss, on the other hand, has kind of been on this roller coaster ride going into Fayetteville before playing Georgia. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I would say 8's a good number there. I think most of the rest of the market's probably at 7.5. I won't be betting this game, but my gut tells me that this might be where Ole Miss lights someone up. I hope I'm wrong for your sake, Kelly, but Arkansas secondary, I think, can be beat, and Ole Miss's offense has been really, not what anyone expected it to be since SEC play has started. But I do think they're due for a breakout in that regard. So, and then on the other side, the Ole Miss defense up front is really strong. I think, Taylor Green's going to have to beat them through the air. I'm just not that confident that he does it. So, again, I lean toward this being the spot where, Ole Miss just has a day, and that would probably mean covering the 7.5, but not something I have enough confidence to bet. So I guess I'll just root for you then, because I won't have anything on this game.
I need it after last weekend's 1-3-1 debacle. Rob asked, did y'all go over the UCF bet? I can't believe they are the favorite. Same, Rob. And that's literally what I said on my 3-team parlay video. I thought this line was absolutely atrocious. I understand that Arizona has not covered since basically last year when they went on a cover tear. So they're not some team I want to be laying points with, but I did take them versus Utah. They got the outright win for us, and I think this is no different. UCF on that 1-5 slide since losing to BYU last week in a game they were supposed to win. So then Gus Malzahn goes and fires his defensive coordinator, and now they're going to start their fourth quarterback of the season. Let's talk about this, Adam. Am I crazy? Every time people say there's a rat line, that you should take it, right? So I could see why people think I'm being baited into taking Arizona. I think Arizona's a better team. I think they have the best player on the field. My problem is I keep waiting for Fafita to have that awesome game, and he just hasn't.
Listen, I've been very anti-Arizona. We talk about it almost every week on the college football show, and I've been pretty much right about that for the last month or so. You take away that Utah game that you referenced, I believe they won as an 8-point underdog in that game. I thought that was heavily based on Utah being a disaster offensively. They haven't covered any other game. You'd have to go back to mid-September to find another game that they covered. I remember Arizona, Kansas State playing on a I believe it was a Friday night, and sort of wanting to bet against both of those teams, thinking that both were probably not top 25 teams. Kansas State has obviously, kind of proved me wrong in that regard. Arizona's very much proved me right. I could not take Arizona at this point based on where I've been at with them all season, but I will agree with you, Kelly. This line is out of control. So if we're going to do the will we bet numbers, not teams thing, then I think you have to like Arizona. I have this more at 3.5. But I've been too right about Arizona to come in here with them now. So other than the fact that I would agree based on the number, I get it. 6.5 is crazy. I would not ever say lay that with Central Florida, but I've been very on point about this Arizona team this year just being bad. So again, I'm not going to bet Arizona, but I feel I understand where people are coming from liking Arizona based on the number here, because I got that about 3 to 4 points off.
Yeah, I also had Arizona plus 3.5, 4. So I didn't understand, unless there's something with this redshirt true freshman I know nothing about. Trick, tell Kelly why K-State doesn't cover against Houston, Texas. DGen wants to know. I mean, hey, look, I said this with Art. Houston beat Utah last weekend. Obviously, no Cam Rising. And welcome to the Big 12, Utah fans. How's it been for you so far? Also, they beat TCU. Look, Willie Fritz has got this team playing right in his first year. And, by the way, who did he beat in 2022? Oh, that's right, Chris Kleiman in Manhattan. Adrian Martinez was in that one. So talk to me about, hey, maybe why K-State coming off a flat spot after barely getting by KU last weekend might be in trouble here.
I actually like K-State here. I think this number's off, in my opinion, as well. Probably due to that Kansas close call that you were at last week, Kelly. I think this should be upwards of 14, so in the 12.5 range. I like Kansas State. I guess I'll compare this week's game to last week's game, like roughly the same number, right? I think Kansas opened 11 and then got bet down a little bit. I had far more faith in Kansas and the way they matched up with Kansas State than I do this Houston team. I don't think Houston's offensive line is going to hold up here. So this is actually one that I could see getting ugly. I'm not going to lay 12.5 with Kansas State here for probably the same reason that I won't go against Arizona. I feel like, I'm not going to come in and back Kansas State after I've been anti-K State for a while. But, I guess to go back to the question, the only reason I'm anti-Kansas State right now is because they're 7-1. I feel like the schedule is broken very favorable for them this year.
Going on back-to-back road games prior to KU was really totally favorable. Kelly, by the way, Kelly, Twitter just told me it's Avery Johnson's birthday. How do you quantify that? Avery Johnson's birthday. Tell me how to quantify a quarterback's birthday into your handicap, Trig.
I don't. Well, I mean, I don't think it's broken favorably from the standpoint of like the scheduling, but I feel like Kansas State has caught teams at the right time for the most part. Like that's I guess what I mean by that. I just don't think Houston is in the same weight class as Kansas State, and I don't really think Houston is what Kansas was last week. So when you're looking at those two games side by side, roughly similar number. Like I have Kansas quite a ways ahead of Houston right now. For that reason, I think Kansas State probably the right side based on the current number. As far as the birthday thing goes, Kel, I lose every year we do these shows, and I end up with like a best bet on my birthday. It always loses. So I don't know. It might not be a good thing.
Oh my gosh, I can't. All right, guys. Well, we got 90 seconds left. So I'm going to let Trig do a little bit of self-promotion. Then we're getting the hell out of here. Thank you to all of you who've been hanging out with us. Hit that like button. WT.buzz/AT is Adam Trigger's homepage at Adam Trigger WT on your social channels. Go ahead, Trig. You have the floor.
Yeah, so all of my college football, as before I came on, 4 straight winning weeks in college football. All of my football for the day is going to be on the same package. And I gave you one of those. So Syracuse +4 is a client play. That's the only one that kicks off at noon. So if you're catching this show late, that package will be up for the rest of the day. Most of my other action is later. Right now I've got 3 plays locked in, including the Syracuse play. I might add one more. But that's all I've got for today, and college basketball starts Monday. So, I'll be ready to fire. Check out my page for some free stuff. And then obviously client plays. I do think there's still a full season special. I don't know if the coupon code is still good, but I'm confident it's going to be another winning college basketball year, up 48.19 units across the last 2 seasons combined, and look forward to college hoops starting on Monday.
Trig is your college basketball guy. If you're looking for some very extensive game previews, head over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Trig has been doing a great job of breaking those down. Thank you to all of you guys for hanging out with us here on Last Call. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got the Prez coming back to answer all your questions. We got John Murray coming back to give you guys a look behind the counter. And of course, we've got VR. So you guys have a question for them. Make sure you're in the chat bright and early. And I promise to get to you guys again. Hit that like button. Give us some love. We are here for all of you. Good luck on your wagers on this beautiful Saturday. And we'll see you tomorrow.